Hey, and welcome to the Powered by Rock podcast, where we're going to be speaking with Tim Fennelly and the rest of the Urethane guys, who are just an awesome punk rock band out of California. They bring up-tempo punk rock and basically rock it up to 11. You're listening to the Powered by Rock podcast with your host, Isaac Kuhlman. The Powered by Rock podcast was created to help showcase some of the best rock musicians in the world and to pass on to future generations the rock music that has inspired rock fans around the world for decades. We want listeners to be able to hear great stories and life experiences directly from their favorite artists, as well as dig deeper into music theory and talk rock like no other show you've ever heard. This isn't about looking cool, it's about getting real and having a great time. Without further ado, let's start the show. All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Powered by Rock podcast. Super excited to be joined by what looks like the workout crew of Urethane.
Sorry. Trying to get some reps in.
Taking a little nap, getting some energy, whatever they're doing back there. But, I'm absolutely pumped to have you guys on the show today, as I think the debut album that you guys have, Chasing Horizons, is an absolutely incredible breath of fresh air. And it's one of the best albums of the year, not just punk albums. It's one of the best albums. It's actually my highest rated album by any new band of the year as well. So welcome to the show, guys.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Oh, yeah. Love to be here.
Great. So I think a lot of people probably, and this, I'm going to be honest about what I first heard when I first heard of you guys. I think a lot of people obviously know Steve Caballero from skateboarding fame, obviously been in punk bands for years. I didn't even know that until recently. I was like, I didn't even know he played music, but great to have you here, Steve, as well. But I think that's kind of what probably brings a lot of the initial attraction to the band is Steve's name. But that's why I kind of hesitated at first to listen to the album, because I was like, maybe this is just like using his name and it doesn't hold up. But then I thought, what do I have to lose by listening to the album? I mean, I've listened to a lot of shitty bands in the years, so I was like, whatever, like, let me give it a shot. Let me give it a shot. And I'm actually super glad I did, because the album was truly friggin' rocking. So what may you say to somebody who has potentially a broken brain like I did?
I mean, that's kind of up to the individual, but I like to listen to anything and everything. So, I don't know. That's a tough one.
Yeah. Steve, did you have any insight of like why I was like hesitant to listen to a band that you would be in by any chance? I mean, I feel like an idiot now, but I'm like, yeah, you guys friggin' rock.
Like a huge Sims fan or something?
With that? No, that's happened over the years and stuff. Definitely a name helps carry things. Sometimes, I would like the music to carry itself and not have, like, I don't like my name being promoted on flyers all the time, if it has a skate related thing, then yeah.
Sure.
But if it's just kind of like a punk show, I'd rather just have the band's name on there.
Yeah.
It gets kind of annoying of just like, focusing on my presence, when it's a group effort.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's kind of why I was resistant, because every single thing was Steve Caballero and Tim, or Steve Caballero and whoever else, or just Steve Caballero talks about Urethane. I'm like that's kind of, it's the promo stuff, the buzz about it, it's kind of like overinflated, I think. But I'm super excited to hear you say that, because the band, the music does speak for itself in this case. And I'm not going to be promoting it as Steve Caballero and Urethane. It's going to be Urethane as the episode, because you guys, I mean, as a cohesive unit, have put out an absolutely epic album. I actually went over and listened to the Toby Morse podcast that you guys actually joined last month, I believe, to kind of get a little bit more backstory, because there's not a lot of history of the band, because the band's only relatively new. I mean, it's like a year old now, or less than a year old. But can you guys give kind of a synopsis of how the group came together and why you guys decided to kind of band this group together when you guys were all in musical projects elsewhere?
I'll do this because I know you've done this like 1,000 times. Yeah. So during the pandemic, I was playing in a band called War Fever, and shows basically shut down. So I kind of used that time to just like dust off the songbook and see what I was working on at the time, and just finished up a couple of songs. I didn't have anything in mind, like as far as a project. I was just trying to keep busy and keep my keep the juices flowing. And I reached out to a friend of mine, Jeff. What's his name?
Jeff Morse.
Morse.
My
And,
good friend Jeff, best friends.
That guy.
And so he owns a studio called Double Time, and he plays drums. So I asked him if he was available to just work on songs, record them. I had no idea what was going to happen with those. It was just for fun. And so he helped me record 5 songs. And then it was kind of, I had never sang or actually really composed or arranged music in the way that it is, in Urethane. So it was kind of just like an experiment, and I really enjoyed doing it, and I really liked the music. So I was like, I'm just going to put it out and under like some pseudonym and have it on Spotify and whatever, and just move on. And hopefully shows were going to come back, and I was going to get back to normal. But so I had it all slated to release, and I was on Instagram and I saw that Steve had posted. Steve was in a band. I didn't know that at the time, and they were looking for a singer. And I'm in Carlsbad. I know that Steve's in Carlsbad, so I was like, I'm just gonna. It was really like a spontaneous thing. I was just like, I'll send him some of the songs that I just finished, and just, he probably won't answer me, but why not? Yeah. So, sure enough, like the next day or the day after that, he got back to me and he said he liked the music, and I was really surprised and really stoked. And so we connected and we met up and we talked about stuff, and he played some tracks of his new band, and he was like, I'll see what these guys think about your voice, but I think we both kind of knew like it wasn't like a good fit. And then sure enough, he went to his band and they were like, nah. So we met up again shortly after that, and he was like, we should start something. And I was like really surprised that he was going to leave his band and we were going to do something. And that's kind of what happened. And I cold called Dylan out of nowhere. I actually asked some other guy that I don't know on social media, who I know lives in North County. Yeah. And I asked him if he knew of any drummers. I know this guy's like good taste in music and stuff. And he's like, yeah. He pointed me towards Dylan. So I messaged Dylan out of nowhere. I'm just like, hey, I'm doing this thing. Steve Caballero, you want to join? And never heard him play. I know that he was in the Bomb Pops, and so that must be good, right? So
I've heard of the Bomb Pops. I just haven't listened to the music. But yeah, Dylan, you want to play drums for us?
And so yeah, Dylan joined us, and we were a 3-piece for a while, and we were just playing in Steve's bedroom and just like figuring out the songs together, and then shortly after that, Steve calls me up one day and he says, hey, I want to play guitar. And it was kind of weird.
Playing bass originally, right?
Yeah, he was playing bass.
Yeah.
Because Chad over here we were talking during that time, and Chad was interested in getting involved, and he wanted to play guitar. And I was like, we kind of just started, like, let's see how it goes. So when Steve said that he wanted to play guitar, I was like, well, I know a guy that plays bass because Chad's a really good bass player.
Yeah, he came from War Fever as well with you, right?
Yeah, and he was in Skipjack for 100 years. Yeah. And so as soon as we got together, it was just a really good chemistry, really good fit. And that's where we are right now.
Nice. So basically you just said, hey, I don't know any of you guys, but do you want to work with me? And then, hey, Chad, do you want to come play with me too?
And it was, it's one of those things that like certain doors open and things are really easy. Yeah. It's a good sign, when you're fighting against things and you can kind of tell that it's not going to work, but this project has been really easy and we all connect really well and we're all like musically on the same page. So it's just a lot of fun.
Yeah, and when you were referencing the recordings of the stuff that you're doing, was that the Johnny Cuz / Tim Frog EP that you were doing, or was that something else that you were actually putting together?
That that was just for kicks. Me and Johnny decided to do an acoustic record. But that was only like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So it was actually something else, and then kind of what became some of the songs for Urethane, I take it then?
Yes.
Very cool.
I took Avalanches with me on that one.
Yeah, and brought Toby Morse from H2O. So
yes,
that was pretty cool. So
that was interesting. We're super lucky to have those guest spots. Jim Lindberg joined us on another song.
Yeah. So I do want to talk about that in just a second, because I kind of got some kind of pre-work for those questions, but I do want to kind of get some more information from you guys about, what like this momentum has been, because you guys have been pretty much on a frantic pace since you guys have started working together, right? I mean, when did you guys actually get together? It was like earlier this year or late last year?
The end of January.
End of January, yeah.
Started really going.
September 24th.
Yeah, September 24th for the three of us, but once the 4-piece was together, it was the end of January this last year.
Wow. So, I mean, in that time, you guys have played multiple shows. I know you guys did Punk Rock Bowling. You guys are actually doing, you guys did a food drive thing as well. I saw that. And then you guys are doing
That's coming up.
The Soma, is it the Soma Fest or something like that you guys are
doing?
We're
playing with Pennywise and Strung Out and the Deviants at Soma November 5th.
Yeah.
So that's coming up. And then the Punk Rock Food Drive is on the 12th in Oceanside.
Nice. Yeah, both. I mean, that Soma thing, that lineup is just incredible. So I mean, you guys getting on these stages, obviously you guys have been around music for, decades each probably. And you guys are just using the connections and making things happen. And I did hear that thing from the Toby Morse podcast where you guys said that, it's a lot of it's your booking agent. So credit to him, because he's definitely got you guys on the right track, I think. But yeah,
we got a team.
What was that?
We got a good team going.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So I do want to ask, like, when did you guys think, like, hey man, this is like actually something worthwhile? I mean, obviously Steve and you kind of were working a little bit by yourselves, but did you ever have any hesitancy or reluctance to like make this move forward, because you guys had established bands before that, or was it just like immediately that you were like, let's get sunk in and let's just do this and go full throttle on it?
For me, it was immediately something I wanted to do. I knew it was the right fit, and I wanted to go forward with it.
And for me, it was a similar thing to it. You get a lot of you spoke about shitty bands. There's a lot of them out there, and Tim sent demos, and it was like, all right, I'm into this right away. Like there was a click. There was something that drew me to it right away. So playing with the guys just fit really easily.
Nice.
I think the connection is that we all have kind of the same taste in music, and we're all have a professional business sense in mind. So we actually are serious when we play. I was in that previous band for a year, looking for a singer. Finally reached out to Tim, fell in love with his music and his voice. And when those guys said no, that was a fork in the road for me. And it made me realize a decision I had to make, which was give up a year's worth of work and dedicate everything to Tim, And so when you're asking, when did I think it was a for sure thing? It was when I first heard his demo tape. I said, this is a for sure thing. Cause I know when it comes to bands, the singer makes or breaks you. Yeah. It doesn't matter how good of a player you are, drummer, bass player, guitarist. If the singer sucks, the band sucks.
Yeah. And that's pretty high praise for you, Tim, because Tim just said he wasn't singing in bands before that, right? Like you were playing guitar.
No. And it's funny because everything I sent them was all studio audio auto tune. So when we got into the studio together, I was like, oh man, the wheels are going to come off. But they're still here. So
that's awesome. So yeah, speaking of that musical influence and that musical taste that you guys have, I mean, I kind of think you guys' sound is like late 90s, early 2000s pop punk is what I grew up on. I mean, I know you guys are maybe slightly older than me, but not like, a full generation ahead of me or anything. And that's a little bit different than maybe some of the projects some of you guys have had. I know the Bomb Pops obviously kind of have like that pop punk sound as well, but War Fever is a little bit more hardcore punk. I think this sound, especially because it's your vocal abilities, Tim, and just kind of the driving lyrical parts of it. It's a lot of like Alkaline Trio mixed with Unwritten Law, mixed with like Face to Face. A lot of that, and you had actually mentioned that Matt Skiba was one of your influences in your writing. So is that kind of on the right path? Is that kind of like some of those musical influence that you guys had as you were kind of coming together?
Most definitely. I think the thing that kind of happened during the pandemic was that I was writing songs with no real goal in mind. They were just like really honest songs. So when they were finished, it was something that I was really into because it was honest. And that's when I knew I wanted to keep going on this path, because that's the music I like to write, and that's the music I like to sing, and that's the music I want to share. Like I love playing hardcore stuff. It's fun.
Yeah,
but
it gets you a lot of energy.
this like means a lot more to me to be in this band and to be writing these kind of songs.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you personally, Tim, because obviously I don't know how old you are, but you got to be. I'm almost 40, so you got to be around my age. How does it feel to kind of finally get that in your band, in like the musical kind of, in like that inner kind of peace or whatever you want to call it at this, at this stage in your career when you might have passed this up before and just, even Dave Grohl from the Foo Fighters played drums for Nirvana, right? Then he became the lead man of the Foo Fighters, which changed his trajectory for his musical career forevermore, because he could have done the same thing as Chris Novoselic and just played bass in other bands, right? So you could have just done the same thing, but kind of chose to change your path. And what does that mean to you, like on that trajectory for yourself?
Like the pandemic sucked for a lot of reasons, but it was great for a lot of reasons too. And this is one of them, because I don't know if I would have done this had that not happened.
Yeah.
Those songs would have just, I don't know. It's hard to say, but what was the question?
It was mostly just about how does it feel like kind of at this stage in your life to kind of finally kind of realize that dream or that newfound spirit that you have by being the front man versus just playing guitar.
So now I'm collecting Social Security and my AAR.
You're 28 years old, obviously. So,
so stuff's working out, No, it's amazing. I just feel super lucky and blessed, or whatever you want to say. But this is where I've always wanted to be musically, I think.
Yeah.
So
that's
it's
awesome.
very rewarding at this point.
Yeah. So, did you guys like, I'm sure you probably had like, obviously with that demo that you kind of had Steve and then Dylan listen to, you kind of set the tone of the band. Did you guys consciously like immediately just say, this is the type of music we're going to play? And like, or did you kind of want to mix things up, or did you have any like inner tension about like how some of the songs should go at all when you were kind of putting this stuff together?
No, there wasn't like a blueprint laid out. I think we kind of started playing the music together, and after those 5 songs, we just like came together with ideas, and there was never like we're gonna set out to do this specific thing. We just kind of figured it out like without talking about it.
Nice.
Also, that's the
best way to do it.
Yeah. And also, like, the writing didn't stop. We actually wrote, or for me personally, I wrote all these like guitar lines in the studio that I never even practiced, because when we were recording, each guy would do their thing, and we were kind of bored, So I'm like, I'm just gonna pick up this acoustic guitar and start fiddling around with it while, either Chad's laying his track or, Tim's laying a rhythm track, and I came up with a lot of different like melodies to add to my playing, which changed the whole dynamic, I think, of every single song that we played. So when we were done recording, I resorted back to what I was practicing beforehand, because I didn't even know what I played.
Yeah,
I played it the day that we recorded, so it just kind of worked, and it just enhanced the song a little bit better. So like I said, even up to recording, we were still writing in the studio as well.
Yeah, well, that's a good way to keep the money well spent in the time in the studio, right? So just keep doing what you got to do.
Yeah, and even with those 5 songs that Tim originally started with, you could listen to any song on that record, or I'm sure after a while, a lot of people will be able to pinpoint certain spots. But like, to add on to what Steve was saying, I can hear each person in the band's feel on each song. Like, I can hear, it stands out to me where like Steve has his feel on there. He added Steve's signature feel. And the same thing with Dylan's fills, like his changes from like a chorus to a big bridge or something. It's not how it was on the record. It's like his signature thing that's on there. And then a lot of the bass stuff that I'm doing, if you were to turn off all the tracks and just listen to just the little simple fills that are in there, they're all hardcore fills. It's the same stuff I would have done in my hardcore band.
Yeah, which is cool because you can take those different styles, put it together, and it still has the overall feel of a pop punk band, but each individual element might sound totally different if it was on its own.
Yeah, cool. It has every one of us on there equally, for sure. You can hear everybody's 2 cents on this one, which is pretty awesome.
Cool. Yeah. So I know, like, you guys obviously worked with El Jefe from NoFX in his studio, and with Jen. Cybertracks, that's the label you guys are on. So you worked in that studio, you recorded there. Did you get any special treatment from them at all while you were there, or did you just like get to work and get on this thing, guys? We need this thing pumped out in the next week.
We actually recorded with Cameron Webb at Maple Sound Studios.
That's true.
But yeah. Our label is Cybertracks, which is Jen and Jefe. But
which they never showed up to any recording.
We've never even met them.
They're the silent partner.
Good to know.
We got whipped in shape by Cameron. You know, we've all been in these situations before, but I think all of us were a little unprepared for what we were getting into with Cameron. But it was one of the best routes that we could have taken with this, because his input on our songs and our structures and everything like that really just added that extra level. And, you know, as Chad said, we all brought our own pieces to it, but having Cameron kind of help guide us along in that was instrumental in the end result. And I mean, I've never worked harder in the studio and gotten more out of 2 or 3 days of work and music than I did for the 2 days that I spent getting my stuff done. So, nice. You know, I wouldn't say we got special treatment in any way, because he didn't let us slide with things at all. So we definitely were put through the ringer and put through the work. But he was also one of the most patient, caring people that we could have had involved with this. So while he worked us really hard, it came from a really good place. And again, that's why the end result is what it is.
Yeah. And he's worked with tons of, punk bands, famous punk bands and stuff. So
amazing bands.
Yeah. And another testament to Cameron is that he didn't go about changing what we set out to do. He more or less showed us that we had these tools all along that we might not have paid close attention to, like things that we already had. Yeah, like Steve has never sang like this before. Yeah. And he's 94% of all the harmonies and all the backups that you hear on the record is Steve. And he's never played that role before, but he's like, he showed Steve that, like, I don't have to change who you are. You have these tools. Let's see what they sound like.
Yeah.
And now,
and it's awesome because, like, on those choruses where you play the backing vocals and the melodies, sounds great. Which is,
they would come to us while we're in the studio, and plus, like, Cameron is a perfectionist, so he would let you know if it didn't sound right, you know, and I never had a producer actually tell me that I bent the note. You got to play that over again. You know, he's got such a great ear for the highs and the lows, and if you're out of tune, you know, and so he really did work us, and I felt bad for each person doing their part because they had to do it over and over and over again until it was perfect.
Yeah.
So,
but then you get to sit there and play in the background while they're doing that, right?
Yeah, I was fiddling around, but yeah. So the end result is an amazing result, and we trusted Cameron just by the work that he's produced. You know, so it was just a great team. You know, everyone just gets along really well. You know, everyone respects each other, and we're in this for the long haul. You know, and I see a lot of good things happening in the future.
That's awesome. So I want to get into a couple of songs real quick, because we did mention obviously working with Jim and Toby on this album, which, you know, like to me, these guys are like super famous punk rock guys because I grew up listening to them, right? So when you brought in Toby to help you guys on the vocals for Avalanches, which is the song that you had previously recorded for that split that I was mentioning, you know, I really like that song, by the way. It's one of the best kind of sounding like deeper meaning kind of songs in there. Now all of them have different meanings, obviously, but I think that one kind of hits a little bit deeper than most on the album. And I was kind of curious, like, what was it like to sort of cover that? Because it wasn't necessarily an up-tempo punk song when you first wrote it and played it on acoustic. And I know it's not technically a cover, but, you know, when you brought in Toby and then kind of got him on the song, and how did you even get him, by the way? Were you guys already connected, or but when you brought him in, what was it like working with him and then basically working with the rest of the band to make that a new version of what you already had?
I'll let Steve speak about Toby, but that song I wrote on an acoustic guitar, but I've always felt like that was supposed to be a faster punk song.
Yeah, the whole thing happened on the fly.
So it was pretty natural when we all got together as a band and everybody added their parts to it, and it was that's what I felt like it was meant to be, was what it is now. So
yeah.
As far as Toby being associated with that song, so the whole idea was, when we were recording this record, thinking of like, what can we do to help spice it up and get some attention? Well, let's reach out to some of the guys that we know in different bands and see if they want to do some guest spots, guest singing. So first person that came to my mind was Toby, because he owed me one, because I played guitar and did a music video for him on his last album. So I knew if I asked him, he wouldn't say no, because he owed me a favor. So that was an easy one. But I think the hard part was trying to figure out which song he was going to sing on.
Yeah.
So we kind of, I don't know, how do we figure out that's the song we wanted him to sing on?
Cameron.
Oh, so Cameron. It was Cameron's idea.
Because I think we actually wanted Jim to do that song.
Jim,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then Cameron was like, no, Jim would be better on this song.
Okay.
And we were like, okay.
So there you go.
We'll take your word for it.
When Toby comes in, you know, Toby like wants to be well prepared, you know, and he knows his songs. He's not very prepared to come in and sing someone else's song and how they wrote it and and the meaning behind it to make it sound legit. So we had to work with Toby a little bit. You know, I kind of stepped in as kind of like the producer and actually just kind of guiding him and telling him, no, Toby, that's not it. You know, over and over and over until I actually heard Toby Morse's voice and I go, like, that's what we want to hear, you know? So he was just trying to figure it out himself. And, you know, I think he had a lot of pressure because, like I said, you're coming in the studio doing this job and I don't know what's expected of me. You know, he brought a crew with him, you know, and so there was guys in there watching the whole process as well. But we nailed it, you know. We got him to bring out his voice in the song, and it came out amazing. I'm super impressed on how it all came together.
Yeah, I mean, I remember growing up listening to H2O Go, that album, and he did a cover of Like a Prayer by Madonna. So I'm like, if he can sing that in a punk version, he can play anything with anybody, right?
Nobody can sing. It was pretty funny because when he was trying to figure out what to do, he was actually singing was kind of singing like I had sung it, and I think that's where Steve was pushing him to be like, no, be more like you. We want Toby.
Did you just press play on one of his albums and be like, listen to this guy sing? This is how
And finally, when Toby came out, everybody in the control room just erupted, and it was like, yeah, Toby.
That's what we want to hear. So we were like working him too. No, do it over. Do it over.
I'm sure he loves getting singing critiques from, you know.
He was holding his composure a little bit. I know he was getting bummed out.
I love you, Steve.
Yeah,
That's
he kept saying,
awesome.
I love you, Steve.
So then obviously let's talk about Jim's appearance on the track Inheritance. You know, when I was in high school, like I grew up in the Midwest. I lived in North Dakota. That's where I went to high school. Pretty much the most depressing place to ever grow up to play in. And I was in a punk band. So I'm like, nobody gives a shit about punk in North Dakota, but here I am. But when I was in high school, Pennywise was literally like, it was like Pennywise, Lagwagon, No Effects, maybe a couple other punk bands. And that's like the Mount Rushmore, right? Like you could put their, you know, names up there and almost every punker at the time, punk rocker, would know who that is. So I'm not sure what your guys' perspective of, or, you know, but you know, knowing that, like, you know, Pennywise is just this big name from a long time ago, and they're still obviously making music. But what was your experience, and what was your perspective, and how did you feel when you were working with Jim in the studio?
It's still one of those situations where I kind of pinch myself that I have, you know, that we were able to get Jim from Pennywise to be on our record, and Toby, and you know, that I play in a band with Steve and these guys. It's like everything's it's very surreal. Those guys, I grew up listening to them. They're hugely influential to our music and to the writing style, and so it's amazing.
Yeah, and I think obviously a lot of the big guitar sounds you guys have are very reminiscent of Pennywise in a lot of ways.
It's some of their amps, actually.
That's the reason why I play a triple Mesa, because that's what Fletcher plays.
Nice.
I love his sound.
Yeah, that's
My
pretty
first
cool.
beat that I learned was because of Full Circle. So I mean, it's hugely influential to what we have here.
I mean, I think pretty much everybody around our age can recite Bro Hymn Tribute front to back. I mean, that's just like, it's like DNA in your punk rock genes or something like that. So yeah,
For sure.
yeah, awesome. So now you guys have made a couple of videos for this album, and I want to talk about this because there's a couple of cool ones. Obviously you did Gravity, which you know, there's some humor behind it. You know, I think it was I can't remember the guy's name, who's the skateboarder that's like getting set on fire in the background and stuff, but you know, just kind of having that you know, whole it was Gravity. Yeah, it was Gravity for that one. But then just kind of doing that whole thing in the house there where you guys are in like each room, and then all of a sudden you're playing together. I thought that was a great way to kind of intro you. Now I think either Wyoming was before or after that, I can't remember, but that was the first video that I saw. And when I first saw, you know, you're just playing in the room, and then all of a sudden Steve comes in with this big guitar slide. I'm like, wow, that's pretty fucking cool. Like, that's a pretty cool way to intro that song right there. And then obviously, you know, the rest of the humor behind the guy walking down the street and all that stuff. But what was it like making these videos? And then obviously with Wyoming, you had a lot of CGI. It was like, you know, a computer animated version of the band, which I can't imagine how long that would take. I don't know anybody that has the patience to do that stuff, but
We do.
how did
The skill.
It takes a long time.
yeah, I bet. So how did both of those videos come about, and what was who kind of came up with the concepts behind those?
You want to talk about Wyoming?
Yeah, talk about Gravity first.
So Gravity was another situation of just using our friends and resources. We filmed that relatively quickly. It was pretty much a day. We filmed it at Mike McGill's house, one of his rentals. I have a buddy that has shot videos for my other band, and we used him. His name's Mario Rivera. He did a great job. Mark DeSalvo, who has done
The guy who painted that.
Yeah, the cover art, right?
countless album covers.
Yep.
Lucky to have him come into the video and play the astronaut on fire.
Yeah.
And of course Kevin Staub, you know, legend.
He's a very colorful person, so we just thought he would be a good guy to be the main character in the video.
Yeah. Just grinning while walking down the street while shit's burning around behind him.
Well, it was all Mario's idea. Like, we went out to get ramen because that's our kind of thing that we do after band practice here. We go get ramen at the local spot. And so we had a meeting with him and kind of just throwing ideas. And that was his idea. When he heard the song, because since he was producing it, it's like, well, what can you visualize? And so he told us what he wanted to visualize. So he said, yeah, we need like a broken down empty house. And I'm like, man, who has that? And I'm like, oh, Mike McGill's working on his house right now.
Yeah, there's none of those in Carlsbad.
Yeah, I'm like, McGill, can we like borrow your house for like, a couple hours to film a video? So he let us do. He's like, just don't. I'm trying to work on this house. Don't ruin it. So yeah, it all came together, and it all came together within a week or two. And we just had fun with it. And like I said, it was another one of those kind of like spontaneous things. It's like, let's film it in this room, and then like, hey, let's now use each other room and put each other guy in a room and kind of move around and like you're going in and out of a room. So, it was kind of like on the whim of just idea after idea, and then we just let Mario do his thing.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of how you record in studios generally anyways. Like, you'll have the drums in like a big room and each person kind of in individual rooms. I don't know if that's how you guys did yours, but that's the experience of a lot of recording studios is individual recording. So it was kind of cool to see you guys in different rooms, almost like it was a abandoned recording studio or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mario's really good at using just what you have around you as props, or some idea that he can just come up with using whatever is around. So big props to him for all the creativity of that video. A lot of that was him.
So let's talk about Wyoming with the avatars and the urethane CGI. How did that come about?
Okay, so Wyoming came about because I have this friend in Spain, and his name is Victor, and he did a little promo spot for this drawing that I did for this salad. I made up this salad on Instagram called the Cab Salad. Cab
Salad?
Yeah. So my buddy who owns this pizza place wanted to sell it at his shop. So we were kind of advertising like we're going to make some T-shirts and we're going to make the salad. And all of a sudden, this guy on Instagram goes, "Hey, I'm a big fan of you. I made this gift for you. You don't have to pay me. This is just a gift because I love you and I've been following you my whole career. This is what I do for a living." And so he made this like 30-second clip of the dragon going through these like bushes, like palm trees, and all of a sudden he comes up and holds a salad bowl and it says Cab Dragon in CGI, and I'm like, oh my goodness, you made that off the drawing that I did? That's insane. So once he did that, he kept bugging me like, let's do another project. I'm like, I don't know what to do, man, like whatever. So when it was the idea of like, we got to do another video, that's when I called Victor, and I'm like, hey, Victor,
you got your work cut out for
I
you
got
now.
another project for you now. But
I hear you like to work for free, so get used to it.
yeah. And he's like, well, what is it? I'm like, well, it's not 30 seconds. It's 3 minutes and 30 seconds.
Yeah.
He's like, whoa, that's going to take a long time.
Yeah.
I think we're like, we need it in 2 weeks.
We should have probably mentioned this last month, but we got a short deadline now.
Yeah, sorry.
But the funny thing is he doesn't speak English. So he translates everything that I write, and then he translates everything back to me. So the communication barriers was kind of tight there, and but so that was the idea. Okay, let's do an animated thing with the band. Yeah. So I already have a toy character. That's my character that someone made in Japan. So I already had that as the basis of like, let's kind of base it off this. And then he just had me shoot photos of all these guys with their whole bodies and tattoos and what they wanted to wear. Yeah. And he just created it from that. And every time he would send me a little thing, I was just blown away. I'm like, I can't wait to show the band this because they're going to be blown away.
Yeah. I mean, it's insane. Like animation alone just blows my mind. I'm like, I don't know how anyone's that patient to do that frame by frame, but it came out pretty good, and especially for somebody who probably hadn't had that kind of big of a project to do before. It was pretty cool to see.
No, he had some interns work for him, a couple Groms working for him as well.
Nice.
And there was a point where the video was almost done, and then Dylan wants a t-shirt change.
I don't like that pink one. Put it as black or something.
And I'm like, oh my goodness, I got to tell Victor to render all that stuff because we got to change the shirt.
What a prima donna, Dylan. Come on, man.
Stop.
No, but
it didn't match his eyes.
It all worked out, and the video came out cool, and everyone was stoked on it. They thought it was really cute, and so like you said, we're just kind of using our resources, and everything's kind of falling together. And even though this band has only been together for a year, mm-hmm. we all have experience in different areas that we're bringing to the table, and so. I'm going to be 57 next month. These guys are 40 and you're 30.
Little baby.
He's the youngest guy in the band. So, we all have, musical experience and wisdom, and we're just kind of adding that to this band, and it seems to kind of flow really well, and my first meeting with Tim at the coffee shop, I knew that, I could work well with Tim because of his attitude and the way he was as a person. And I think, everyone in this band just has a great attitude, very positive and professional, and they don't lack anything. Everyone brings something to the band, and that's why this band is so successful so quickly, because we're serious about it.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's no egomaniacs in the band, which is cool. Until you told me that Dylan wanted a t-shirt change. Then I was like, well, fucking Dylan's ruining the whole thing.
It was actually Chad's fault. He told me I looked ugly in it. I just couldn't stand for it.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, and I agree. Like, I think there's a lot of good things about punk bands in general. Like, most people are pretty humble. You get once in a while some pretty big shitheads out there, but I think for the most part, people know that when you're in a punk band, you're not striving for like superstardom. You're just really there to make the music, and if you can make a living out of it and play some shows and make some awesome music along the way, that's kind of how it is. And that's awesome to hear that you guys actually don't have any tension, because that really makes the music flow a lot easier and stops you. I guess it stops you from stopping yourself to make the music you want to make.
Most definitely. I feel, we all have like jobs and families and stuff, and I just feel lucky that I'm able to do this at all with these guys. So it's a blessing for sure.
Yeah, well, obviously Steve's got his salads and his skateboard, and he's just sitting back going like, you know what, this is pretty cool. I'll just be in a band. I'm just kidding.
Tonight he brought us organic juice with his name on the bottle.
Nice.
Yeah.
He's like, quick plug, guys, drink this. Yeah, no, that's pretty cool. So if you guys have a crystal ball, what do you think Urethane's up to in 5 years?
I would say writing new songs, and trying to, we're just trying to figure this out, because we're on a whole nother level here, that we haven't been in. And especially me, I've been playing music since 1982.
Yeah,
that's when I started my first punk band.
I was born in 1981, Steve. That makes me feel old, but I think that makes you probably feel a little older.
Yeah, so it's like I've been doing this all my life, but this band right here, I feel like, is the one that's taken off the most and has gotten the most attention and the most opportunity. And it just goes to show, when you never give up on what you love to do, eventually you become successful at it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I like that sentiment too, because I've played in bands where I'm like, I'm the only one driving forward. I have to drag people with me, and it's not fun, because it's like, I don't want to have to be that guy. Like, just come in, bring something to the band. So then I actually played drums in a band where there was 2 other people kind of driving the music forward, and I was there just practicing. And I didn't really play drums in a band before, but I was like, I'm going to work my ass off to try to be the best drummer. And when everybody in the band was kind of like had that same spirit of like wanting to build the music, it came quick. I mean, we had like 12 songs in like 3 weeks, and I was like, how the hell did that happen? Like, I can't even drum that well, but like I'm sitting here practicing like 6 hours a day just to get it right. So I think, you know, when you do find the right people, that shit can happen. Like, just goes forward really quickly. So that's awesome. Now I know that obviously, I believe anyway, Chad and yourself, Tim, have been kind of replaced in War Fever. I don't know the situation. Are you guys pretty much all in on this band? You guys have been replaced in your other musical projects, or do you guys still have commitments with the other bands at all?
You addressed the elephant in the room. Thanks a lot, Isaac.
Hey, I'm just going to ask the questions people want to know, man.
As far as me and Tim and War Fever, I was more or less like a place setting.
Yeah.
That they'd gone through member change, and I was just kind of the guy. That was easy because I'm friends with everybody. I started out recording their band as a producer.
Gotcha. Okay.
So I knew most of their music anyway, and besides Urethane, it's the easiest band of guys to get along with ever. You know, they're just the friendliest group. So
and every song's like 2 minutes long, so it's like I don't have to learn much. Just play the same thing for 2 quick minutes, right?
Yeah, just as long as you play really fast and end on E, you have every War Fever song. So it was cool, you know. And but yeah, I was never looked at either from my perspective or theirs as a permanent guy. I still do play with Skipjack. That's 26 years now. But they were all very, very supportive. They knew that when this opportunity came and we had the songs and the crew that we have, we put the brakes on everything. And the Urethane project is the #1 priority. I don't have any Skipjack projects, planned practices, nothing like that. It's just it'll be there from time to time, you know. But we started this thing with good music and a good group of guys, and we want to see it through as far as we can take it. You know what I mean?
I mean, I referenced Matt Skiba before, and he's playing both in Alkaline Trio and Blink-182, 2 of the biggest punk bands in the world. So it's possible. You just have to be really good at managing your time, I guess.
Yeah, sure. No, and they're definitely different. The Skipjack thing is more of we've had like some really good regional successes, you know, and as far as but it's a different type of music. It's more of hardcore kind of stuff, you know, that it's one of those it's kind of like high school reunion time now, you know, that it's something that's just kind of always there going on in the background. But
like or cell phones going off in the background.
Yeah, yeah, but this is different, you know.
Band practice. You're late.
But like Steve was saying, we just had this opportunity that we all ended up in the same place, like 4 guys that are really driven towards the same goal, and we've all paid our dues on so many levels for so many years. And I think a big misconception is that like, oh, this band is just coming out of nowhere and there's a few names attached to it and they have all these shows. Well, collectively, we've all paid decades of dues. So we were able to use a lot of our own resources within the band. We all have our own set of resources that we can bring to the table. So then all we have to do is really focus on writing music and enjoying each other's company. Yeah. And these are all guys that like, I mean, 200 memes a day between the group, you know, like we all love hanging out with each other. We're calling each other, goofing around. Like,
hopefully none of them are like offensive or anything. You guys don't want to get caught up in those traps of like, you know, 10 years from now, all the stuff you guys are sharing gets exposed through some email scandal or something.
Oh yeah. Unless there's an email scandal of like, we're screwed. Unless there's a funny email scandal of funny French bulldog memes. Me and Steve will be safe forever. No, it's one of those things where I wouldn't change a single thing that we have going right now. I wouldn't change a minute of it.
I assume that's pretty much the sentiment from all of you guys then.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know the term, it's all who you know, to be able to get where you want to get.
Oh yeah,
it's true, and you have to be friendly. You have to make relationships with people. You have to know people to get things done. So it is true. It's all who you know. And if you're not outgoing or friendly, you're not going to get much out of life, you know. And I think that all of us have built relationships within the music industry that are having an effect on this band now and the success of it.
Yeah, and that's great advice, because I mean, you know, especially for bands that come up, and you know, if anyone in the band has an attitude that's, you know, it's going to stain that entire band's image with whoever they're working with, producers, studio guys, you know, gear, like roadies, whoever, like anybody that sets up anything or helps you in any way. If you're not incredibly grateful for them helping you and the opportunities you have, people are going to stop wanting to work with you. And then guess what? You don't have a band anymore, and you don't even know why. It's just, there's your attitude. And I think that's a great mentality, because I actually do some business coaching. That's my day job, and have businesses as well. But you know, that is the same sentiment that I tell people in business. If you're not good with the people that you work with, or the customers, or the staff that you have, you're not going to have a business. It's going to dry up just as quickly. So it's all about relationships and being friendly and being honest. I think that's a huge part. You know, that gives respect regardless of what industry you're in.
No, for sure. And when this band first started, I had to lay down the law and let them know that if they messed up, I was going to toilet paper their house. So they know, you know, they get the little toilet paper emoji going like, you're pissing me off now. I'm going to go to Costco and get a whole, you know, roll.
Hey, what's funny is he's totally not even cracking a joke.
It got so bad that I carry a roll in my car just to be prepared.
Every once in a while, you'll just get like, you know, a show will get canceled, or some just might not work out the way we planned it. And there's just Steve with the little toilet paper emoji, you know, like
Going down.
What's their address?
It'll be even more embarrassing when he gets the toilet paper with his face printed on it all the way. So awesome. So so you know, obviously we'll put some links to you guys' music in the show notes below and anything like that. But do you guys have any other? We talked about some upcoming shows, but do you have any other shows or anything else that you'd like to plug, or you know, say anything you want to say to the fans or people who haven't heard you yet before we go today?
Don't worry about Steve. Just listen to the album.
That's good advice. Yeah. No, I mean that's. I think when the hype really stops just focusing on any one member, they're going to see that there's music here, and it's good for so many other reasons.
Oh yeah, but you know what though? It's the smartest thing. You know, how would we have launched a brand new band like this the way we have, or had any opportunities without that sort of name association at first? You know what I mean? Like, you put out a flyer for Urethane without anything on it. I don't know Urethane. There isn't a person around that knows what this is, you know? But if we have an opportunity to like broaden our audience so that they can hear the music, so far, everybody that's heard the music has been totally excited about it. They've heard nothing but good reviews and stuff, you know? If it takes getting the fire lit a little bit to get everybody to see what we've done here, then by all means.
And even when I first started the Faction in 1982, my name was attached to that because they didn't know that I played music, and no one knew who the Faction was. So a lot of people that came to our shows in 1982 came because I was playing in the band. We played a lot of skate, you know, venues, and so it helped bring some attention to the band. So, you know.
Yeah. So what are the chances that you guys will be on the next Tony Hawk Pro Skater whenever that comes out, you know?
There could be a good possibility. I hang out with Tony all the time. So I'm going to be skating with him tomorrow, actually. So.
That's awesome. Yeah. Get it in there. Like, I want to see Steve Caballero skating to his own music in a video game.
No, it'll be sick. We're trying to get a song in a motocross video right now, which is a pretty prestigious documentary they're working on long jumping.
Wow.
And there's a guy that's gonna try to break the world record in this video, this documentary. So I'm trying to get some songs, or at least one or two songs in that.
That's awesome. Do you know what the working title is, or?
It's called Narnia. Narnia. Yeah.
With a
Hopefully,
G.
there's no trademark infringement there.
Yeah, and it's Jay Weiser.
Jay Weiser.
The first name is Jay, but he's a producer. He's the filmer of the
Nice.
film. So we'll see. Like I said, they're and because of my connection with Vans, Vans does a lot of events, and so that's another platform that can be used because of my connection with skateboarding. We just played Steve Van Doren's dad's documentary called Never Catch Pigeons. It was a story of Paul Van Doren, the guy who started Vans, and his whole life story. And we were able to do the premiere at the Newport Film Festival, and Steve Van Doren asked if Urethane would play it. So
That's awesome. I actually saw the Instagram post about that. That's very cool. I mean,
Yeah, Vans has been amazingly supportive of us from the beginning. Steve Van Doren and the crew, they've really helped us out.
He was literally the first one to hear us.
wow, that's pretty awesome. I mean, again, it is who you know, and then obviously when you got those connections and the music's good, then it's a perfect system, right? It's like riding the wave in a surf reference. I guess it'd be like hitting a perfect half pipe trick. I don't skateboard, so I don't know.
Sweet transition.
Yeah, a good transition or a good rail slide or something. Yeah, perfect. But yeah, so guys, it's been an absolute honor to have you guys here. I truly do enjoy the music. I look forward to seeing everything you guys do, and it's all well deserved. And like Chad was saying, it's not an overnight success. Nothing is ever an overnight success. There's always tens of hundreds of hours of work put to that thing behind it. So, guys, if you haven't checked out their music yet, make sure to go to the show notes below the episode for links to their music. And if you like what you heard on the show, make sure to subscribe to the podcast and share it with your friends on social media. And you can see the full video on our YouTube channel as well. Also, if you want to check out some of the written content or any of the products or merch that we have available, go to poweredbyrock.com to read our absolutely free rocking blog full of album reviews, interviews, and lists to keep you entertained. And find our gear as well so you can pick up some items to play and look like a rock legend. That's our show for today. We'll see you soon for the next episode. Until then, rock on.
Thank you.
See ya.
yeah.
Bye.